Before we get started, let me ask you something. How many of you have had a job where you had to deal with a manager? Now, think, how many of you have watched movies or TV shows where they show these powerful executives in corner offices making huge decisions while sipping coffee? Here's the thing. Everything you think you know about management is probably wrong. And that's exactly why this class matters so much for your future. Whether you become an engineer, accountant, nurse, or entrepreneur, you're going to encounter managers everywhere. And many of you will become managers yourselves sooner than you think. Today, we're going to shatter some myths and discover what managers actually do in the real world. And trust me, it's way more interesting and chaotic than you might imagine. So let's start with those myths. When you picture a manager, what do you see? Maybe someone sitting in a big office, making important phone calls, having everything perfectly organized on their desk. Maybe they spend their days creating detailed plans and making those big decisions we always hear about. Well, research has shown that this image could not be further from the truth. Real managers are more like air traffic controllers than chess masters. They're constantly switching between tasks, dealing with one crisis after another, and spending most of their time just talking to people. Think about it this way. If you've ever worked in a restaurant, retail store, or any customer service job, you've seen your manager in action. Are they sitting calmly at a desk? No way. They're running around, solving problems, talking to employees, dealing with customers, and putting out fires left and right. That's the real world of management. Now, let me blow your mind with some actual research numbers. Scientists followed real managers around for weeks to see what they actually do. Here's what they found. The average manager deals with 36 written communications and 16 verbal contacts every single day. That means they're switching between 52 different issues daily. And get this, most of these interactions last less than 9 minutes. Imagine trying to solve a problem or make a decision in less time than it takes to watch a TikTok compilation. Here's my favorite statistic though. Managers can only work without interruption for more than 30 minutes about 9 times in an entire month. That's less than once every 3 days. The rest of the time, they're being interrupted every few minutes. If this sounds stressful, you're absolutely right. But it's also why management can be incredibly exciting. No 2 days are ever the same, and you're constantly learning and adapting. Now that we know management is chaotic, let's understand what managers actually do in all that chaos. Researchers discovered that every manager essentially wears 3 different hats, sometimes switching between them multiple times in a single conversation. Think of it being a superhero with 3 different identities. First, there's the interpersonal hat. This is when managers are being people-focused, building relationships, and leading teams. Then there's the informational hat, when they're gathering, processing, and sharing information. Finally, there's the decisional hat, when they're making choices and solving problems. The crazy part though, a manager might wear all 3 hats in a single 5-minute conversation. They might start by motivating an employee, then gather information about a problem, and end by making a decision about how to fix it. Let's dive deeper into that first hat, the interpersonal roles. When managers put on this hat, they're doing 3 main things. First, they're being a figurehead. This means they represent their organization or department. Think about when your school principal meets with parents, or when a McDonald's manager has to deal with a health inspector. They're not just representing themselves, they're the face of the entire organization. Second, they're being a leader. This is probably what you think of most when you imagine management. It's like being a coach, motivating your team, setting direction, and helping people perform their best. Every time your manager at work shows you how to handle a difficult customer or encourages you when you're having a rough day, they're acting as a leader. Third, they're being a liaison, which is just a fancy word for being a connector. They build relationships with people outside their immediate team, like when your group project leader coordinates with other groups, or when a department manager works with other departments to solve a company-wide problem. Now let's talk about the second hat, informational roles. This is where managers become like human information processing centers. In our digital age, this role has become absolutely crucial. As a monitor, managers are constantly scanning for information. They're like radar systems, picking up on everything happening around them. They're listening to employee concerns, watching market trends, keeping an eye on competitors, and staying alert for problems before they become crises. As a disseminator, they're like the central hub that decides who needs to know what information and when. Think about group chats. Someone has to decide what information gets shared with everyone versus what only goes to specific people. That's what managers do all day long. As a spokesperson, they represent their team or organization to the outside world. When your manager explains your department's performance to their boss, or when they present your team's project to other departments, they're acting as your spokesperson. In our social media age, this role has become even more important and risky. The third hat is all about making decisions. And this is where things get really interesting. Managers make 4 different types of decisions regularly. As entrepreneurs, they're constantly looking for ways to improve things. This isn't about starting companies. It's about finding opportunities to make processes better, serve customers more effectively, or help employees develop new skills. As crisis handlers, they deal with unexpected problems. And trust me, there are always unexpected problems. Equipment breaks down. Employees call in sick on the busiest day of the year. Customers complain. Deadlines get moved up. Someone has to figure out how to handle all of this. As resource allocators, they decide who gets what. This might be the most difficult part of management because resources, whether it's money, time, equipment, or people, are always limited. Everyone wants more, but someone has to make the tough choices about where resources go. Finally, as negotiators, they're constantly working out agreements and resolving conflicts. This happens way more than you might think. Negotiating with suppliers, resolving disputes between employees, working out schedules, or even negotiating with their own boss for better resources for their team. Now, not all managers are the same. There are basically 3 levels, and each level focuses on different things. It's like a ladder where each rung requires different skills and perspectives. At the bottom, you have first-line managers. These are the supervisors you're most likely to encounter in your part-time jobs. They work directly with employees who aren't managers themselves. Think of shift supervisors, team leaders, or department supervisors. In the middle, you have middle managers. These are the people who manage the managers. They coordinate between different departments and translate big picture strategies into practical actions. At the top, you have executive managers, the C-suite folks like CEOs, CFOs, and CTOs. These are the people making decisions about the entire organization's direction. They're thinking years into the future and dealing with the biggest strategic questions. Here's what's interesting. As you move up the ladder, what you spend your time on changes dramatically. This is one of the most important concepts for your future careers. The skills you need as a manager change dramatically depending on your level. When you start as a first-line manager, technical skills matter most. You need to know how to actually do the work your team is doing. If you're managing a restaurant kitchen, you better know how to cook. If you're managing a software team, you better understand programming. But as you move up, something interesting happens. Technical skills become less important, and conceptual skills become more critical. By the time you're an executive, you don't need to know every technical detail. Instead, you need to understand how all the pieces fit together and think strategically about the future. The one thing that stays important at every level, people skills. Whether you're managing 2 people or 2,000, your success depends on your ability to communicate, motivate, and work with others. This has huge implications for your career development. Don't just focus on getting better at the technical parts of your job. Invest in developing your people skills and your ability to see the big picture. By now, you might be thinking that management sounds incredibly difficult, and you're right. Let me tell you why modern management feels nearly impossible. First, time is fragmented. Remember those statistics about 9-minute interactions? Imagine trying to solve complex problems or make important decisions when you can never focus for more than a few minutes at a time. Second, everyone wants different things from you. Employees want more time and resources. Customers want faster service and lower prices. Your boss wants higher profits and better performance. Somehow you're supposed to make everyone happy, but spoiler alert, you can't. Third, organizations have gotten flatter, meaning managers have way more people reporting to them than ever before. The old rule was that 7 direct reports was the maximum anyone could handle effectively. Today, many managers have 20 or 30 people reporting to them directly. All of this means that efficiency, the ability to get things done quickly and effectively, has become the most important management skill of our time. Let me give you a real example of how impossible management decisions can be. Imagine you're managing a team of software developers. Your programmers want more time to write perfect code and test everything thoroughly. Your customers want new features delivered quickly. Your boss wants to keep costs low. And your company's executives want to beat the competition to market. All of these are legitimate concerns, but they are directly in conflict with each other. If you give your programmers more time, you'll miss deadlines and you'll disappoint customers. If you rush development, you might release buggy software that damages your company's reputation. If you hire more programmers to go faster, you'll increase costs and then reduce profits. This is the reality of management. You're constantly making decisions where someone is going to be disappointed, and there's often no right answer. The best managers learn to navigate these trade-offs and communicate clearly about the decisions they make. Let me tell you a story that brings all of these concepts together. Imagine you're managing a popular restaurant in March 2020, and suddenly the government announces that all restaurants must close for dine-in service due to COVID-19. In a single day, you had to transform from all the management roles we've discussed. As a crisis handler, you had to immediately figure out how to pivot to takeout and delivery only. As a resource allocator, you had to make heartbreaking decisions about which staff members to keep and which to temporarily lay off. As a leader, you had to keep your remaining team motivated and positive during an incredibly scary and uncertain time. As a spokesperson, you had to communicate these changes to your customers, probably through social media and signage, trying to maintain their loyalty while being honest about the situation. As a negotiator, you had to work with suppliers to change your orders, landlords to potentially adjust rent, and delivery services to set up new partnerships. And you had to do all of this while wearing a mask, maintaining social distancing, and probably dealing with your own fears about the pandemic. This is what real management looks like. It's messy, emotional, and incredibly challenging, but also deeply meaningful because your decisions affect real people's lives. Now, some of you might be thinking, I don't want to be a manager. This sounds awful. But here's the thing. Understanding management helps you regardless of your career path. If you never become a formal manager, you'll still work with managers your entire career. Understanding their challenges, pressures, and decision-making processes makes you a better employee and team member. When your manager seems stressed or makes a decision that you don't understand, you'll have insight into the bigger picture that they're dealing with. Plus, you're probably already practicing management skills without even realizing it. When you're the leader of a group project, you're acting as all three types of manager. When you coordinate between different friend groups or mediate conflicts, you're negotiating and handling crises. When you decide how to spend your time or money, you're allocating resources. These aren't just management skills. They're life skills that will make you more effective in whatever you choose to do. As we wrap up, let me leave you with the key insights from today's journey into the real world of management. First, management is nothing like what you see in movies or TV. It's fast-paced, people-focused, and incredibly fragmented. Real managers are more like emergency responders than strategic masterminds. Second, every manager wears multiple hats, sometimes switching between interpersonal, informational, and decisional roles multiple times in a single conversation. Third, the skills you need change as you advance in your career. Start by mastering the technical aspects of your field, but don't neglect developing your people skills and strategic thinking abilities. Finally, management is fundamentally about people. Whether you're motivating a team, gathering information, or making difficult decisions, success depends on your ability to understand and work with others effectively. So here's your homework. Start paying attention to these concepts in your current experiences. In your next project, notice when you're acting as a leader, an information hub, or a decision maker. At your part-time job, observe your manager with new eyes, understanding the chaos they're navigating and the multiple roles they're juggling. And remember, whether you choose to become a manager or not, these skills will make you more effective in whatever path you choose. The future belongs to people who can navigate complexity, work well with others, and adapt quickly to change. And that's exactly what management teaches you to do.